Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. We had a busy week at Dragonblade this week. I feel like I say that every week, but it's exceptionally true this week. We've got 3 releases. We had Enticing the Earl by Kathleen Ayres, which is part of the Dragonblade Flame line, and book 3 in the Arrogant Earl series. Kathleen couldn't be with us today, but she'll join us at some point in the future. And then we've got 3 Dragonblade authors with us today. Nadine Millard's second book in A Lord for All Seasons, Midsummer Madness, came out this week. And Bella Moxie's The Earl's Tempting Ward, which is also part of the Dragonblade Flame line, and book 2 in Duke's Gone Dirty. I love the title of that series.
I think it really says it all right there. That's about.
There's no question that the Dukes have done some things.
No one is allowed to complain that it's too dirty with that series title.
No, there's no big switch. That is what it is. And then we missed out on having a chance to talk to Maeve Greyson a couple weeks ago for her book, A Scot to Have and to Hold, which is Once Upon a Scot series. So Maeve is joining us today. And ladies, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Be here, yeah.
And you hear from all over the place, which is even better.
Yeah. And I find I worked out the time difference with a little bit of help. So.
Well, we were talking before we started. I think the last time we talked was St. Patrick's Day, which was like right before you were having revelry.
Yeah. And I can guarantee that your memory is a lot less fuzzy than mine about that weekend. But I survived. I've lived to tell the tale.
That's awesome.
So the second book in your series, Lord for All Seasons, released this week. It's a Midsummer Madness. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the first book, the 4 books are set around a family of sisters, which sounds a bit odd because it's a Lord for All Seasons, but each sister gets her own Lord because why not? So in the first book, we meet the 4 of them, and the story is based around the eldest sister. And so in this one, it's Hope's story, and readers loved her in the first one because she is an absolute flirt. Like, she flirts nonstop. She doesn't care who it is, as long as he's a man, she's in there. And that's just basically who she is. And she's kind of spent a lot of her life, because she's so beautiful, as women, I suppose, were back then, told, oh, well, that's your selling power. You know, if you're good looking, you'll find yourself a good husband and your job is done. But she meets Gideon, our hero, who I love because I'm a sucker for a dark, brooding hero, which he is. And she mistakenly thinks that he's the new vicar, and she's like, ew, vicars are, no good guys for me. I'm bad boys all the way, and they have a bit of a mistaken identity thing going on. But as much as she'd like to stay away from him because he's too good for her, she just can't. She too is a sucker for a brooding dark hero. And that's pretty much
that guy pretending to be a good guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Although at first he doesn't mean to trick her, and then she kind of irritates him enough that he goes along with it just to wind her up a little bit, which is fun. Not for her, but for the readers, it's fun.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine that it was a good time. The covers for that series are gorgeous too. There's always a fan or gloves or like little flowers or something. They always seem so sweet when I get to see.
And then just a gorgeous man in the middle, which, let's be honest, it doesn't hurt to look at. Fantastic.
So Bella, your book comes out tomorrow, or actually the day that our chat airs, and it's the Earl's Tempting Ward from the Duke's Gone Dirty series, and it's part of the Dragonblade Flame line. We're having a very spicy week this week.
Awesome. I love it. Happy to be a part of that one. Yeah, it's great. So Duke's Gone Dirty is about, it's a group of very alpha men who decide that this is the year that they have to buckle down and get married. They've sowed their wild out, like, this is it. We have to do our duty. And so it's very much like, I wanted to my first series title idea was Alpha to the Max. And then I thought that might not be like historical enough, but it's basically like, how alpha can I make these heroes? That's like my new favorite thing. So this one is we met him in the first book. He's the Earl, and he's guilt ridden and he's very like dark brooding character. He there was like a fire, killed his father. He has like this whole dark backstory. So it's a little bit darker than the first book. And then he is kind of punishing himself by putting himself out in the country in this manner, and he's just kind of abusing himself out of guilt. But then he finds out that he's going to be taking ownership or wardship. What is that? I don't know. He's going to be looking after his mother's best friend's daughter. She was recently orphaned, but he gets it into his head from what his mother says. He thinks that it's going to be this child. And then it's not. It's a grown woman, but it's kind of my favorite opening scene ever because it opens with him. He's railing and ranting about how he doesn't want to have a kid around and how this is gonna be awful. But then he ends up saying like, well, if she's trouble, I'm going to put her over my knee. And then that's when she walks in and she's like, oh, I certainly hope it doesn't come to that,
Right.
Yeah. So I was like,
I'm like, what's it called again? I'm writing that down.
I was like, it's such a fun meet cute to write. Where they instantly sparks right there because she's like, oh, I do hope it doesn't come to that. She's like, he's like threatening to spank her on page 1. I was like, this is the best. so then it goes from there.
Flame line. It's the flame line.
I know. Dude's gone dirty. There's no playing around in this series, but it was really good, fun one to write for me. It was a little dark. They're both kind of dealing with a lot of like guilt and back issues and things like that, and dark and dirty. That's pretty much the whole series.
No, it sounds like so much fun.
Yes, it does.
And Maeve, your book came out a couple of weeks ago, like years ago, Dragonblade book years. But it hits Scott to Have and to Hold, and it's part of the Once Upon a Scott series. And this one has a heroine that's got some challenges. I love the setup for this one. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Elise has not had an easy way to go. She was born with a birthmark on her right cheek. And of course, she's automatically branded as, that's the devil's mark. She's evil, stay away from her and everything. Plus, she's a scrawny little thing. So redheaded. So she's a little bitty. And it's just, she's had a rough way to go. Her mother dies young, and dies when she's young. And her mother was really her only champion because her mother told her, the birthmark, it means nothing. Well, all it's ever meant for Elise is torment. So, but, and finally her father sells her off because into a marriage that of course she didn't want. And so she runs away, and this is all in Ireland. And yay! But she escapes. And, but while she's on the run, she is captured by, these mercenaries, the Gallagher warriors that are over helping some of the Irish lords. And she's brought back to Scotland. And Ross McDougall, his lord and liege, decides he's going to play a trick on Ross because he can't prove it, but he really thinks Ross slept with his wife because that's what Ross does. Ross is a womanizer, and I mean he loves them, and just it doesn't matter if you're married or not. He's gonna, So, but his lord and liege figures I'm gonna fix his wagon, and he sends a message to Ross as soon as he gets back to Scotland. Says, "I have a reward for you because you did so well in this latest campaign." Well, Ross is a little leery because he knows the man doesn't like him. He goes, and he's all beat up anyway because he got caught with another man's wife, and the guy.
I love him. This is fun.
Yeah, so he shows up at the keep with looking a little worse for the wear, and they bring Elise out, and to Ross, Elise looks like, okay, maybe this is some little stable boy or something that they took prisoner over in Ireland, because it's just a scrawny, ratty looking little, and they, she's dressed in rags. She's filthy because they haven't, she's been a prisoner. And so and the guy, and the leash says, no, this is your wife. And so Ross, no, wait a minute. You cannot make me marry this little boy, and that's when Elise pipes up and said, I am not a boy. I am a woman full grown. And so,
I love that.
yes. So, but see, Ross, even though he's a womanizer, he's got a soft heart. He's gooey on the inside. He's gooey on the inside because he immediately feels so guilty because he can see she's been mistreated. She's been abused and treated badly, and so he apologizes to her, and he forces the liege to not only provide her a place to bathe, but a fine wedding dress and a nice ceremony. And of course, Elise is leery of all of this because she figures, something's going on. I don't trust this. And but and then the story goes on from there. They finally strike a deal that as long as she won't run off again, that come spring, he'll take her anywhere she wants to go. And she can be free, And so, but his kindness and, he cares about her. He kind of adopts her at first, but then he falls in love with her. So, but he has to win her over. And cats are involved. 18 cats. Involved.
Ireland and cats. I love this.
There you go.
18 cats are an integral part of the story. So,
awesome.
18 is an oddly specific number, Maeve.
It just worked out that way. With how sometimes the characters and it just 18 cats.
I love the sound of that, and I absolutely love your accent. So
I'm in Kentucky.
I love it.
So we have Kentucky and Ireland, and Bella, where are you?
Montana.
Oh,
wow. Cowboy country, huh?
What's that? I also write cowboys under a different name.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm like, I kind of have to. It's here, so
yeah, you're pretty inspired.
Yeah,
well, he doesn't like a cowboy.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta sell that.
Highlanders.
Yeah,
Must not be 110 degrees where you are too.
What's up?
I said it must not be 110 degrees where you are too. We're so hot in the south right now.
Yeah, it's hot.
Oh, really? Yeah, we are. We still have snow around. It was snowing up until Memorial Day. I was like, oh my.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We'll get there.
We
have
never
summer
get
eventually.
extreme weather. We literally just get rain. That's pretty much it. It's raining.
And Virginia rains all through the spring, and then when we start to hit summer, it's like it just bakes. I mean, it just bakes. And every spring I think, this is so wet. Why is this so wet? And then I have to remind myself, no, it's going to cook. And just, it's going to cook. And it's like,
God turns the faucet off, and then it gets,
and then it's it. That's it. Whatever's filled up the bathtub, and that's all you get. So
that's it.
So, ladies, can we talk a little bit about, you're so animated when you're talking about your stories, which is so much fun. Can we talk a little bit about your writing process and what it is that do you get the characters first? Do you get the stories first? What is it that catches your attention and makes you want to write the story?
I think
for me, for this one, for Midsummer Madness, it kind of was a series by accident because, and this is not the first time this has happened to me either. Every time I write a main character with siblings, I end up writing a series with all the siblings, and it's never the plan. It's never on purpose. But I think it's just, it's quite easy to do because, you're writing your main character and you're writing the important relationships in their lives. And so you sort of naturally develop their brothers, their sisters,
Yeah.
their parents, and it's for like a second, third, fourth book for me, it's just a really natural progression. And when I decided to write a book for the four sisters, I didn't even know what book 3 and 4 were going to be at that point. I just thought, I have sisters, and if 2 of them got like an earl and a duke and I didn't get anything, I would not be happy. So I was like, I better give them all a lord.
Whole level of competition I didn't expect.
yeah, and they have such different characters as well. Elodie was like the really good girl, never did anything wrong. Hope is such a flirt. Francesca is very much, a feminist. Women, she doesn't think women should have to get married. And then Sophia, the youngest, is at the moment she's still quite young, so she's just an absolute tomboy. She does not like people. She only likes horses. And so they all like had such great characters. I thought, they need to be developed and they deserve their own book. And like I said, I have 5 sisters actually. So I have 5 sisters and 5 brothers. So yeah. So, I'm an expert on sibling rivalry, so it was very easy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now I know who to talk to next time I do a series with a lot of siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you anything good about it, though.
Okay, that's all right.
Here's all the ways we fight.
Absolutely.
You learn how to jockey for attention, because
yes, you do.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So, do you get the characters first? Did you get the characters for the first book first? So like they come to you first, and the story builds around it.
Yeah, and I knew I had the idea for the first book. Where I said this to you the last time, he sort of accidentally kidnaps her. Like, he kidnaps her, but it's without his consent because she sneaks into his carriage and he takes her unwittingly with him. So I knew I wanted to do that book. And then just as I was writing it, and as I was writing her relationship with her sisters and their own personalities started to kind of develop, the ideas then popped into the head that was very specific to the sister that I was writing. So that's how this one came about for me. So I probably should sound like I was more organized, but in truth I was like, oh, I want to do this book. Oh, okay, I'll do that one. I do usually plan, though. I'm not constantly erratic about it.
I don't know. I think there's place for both, and I'm always curious to hear which way everybody goes, because some people are so deliberate and methodical in their planning, and some people sit down with just a character in their mind and roll and see where they end up. Bella, how about you? Do you get your characters first, or do you get your stories?
It depends. For this series in particular, it was more like themes. Like I have a 5-year-old son who he's probably going to burst in any second. He keeps knocking and like trying to come in. So I apologize in advance. But so.
Yeah, we're good with dogs and kids, so that's all fine.
Get out of here. But so I have a 5-year-old, so we watch a lot of these like Disney movies. He's going through a big we have Disney Plus on all the time, and so I'm kind of revisiting a lot of the fairy tales that I grew up with. And so yeah, with this series, I really wanted to do like dark take on the fairy tales that we all know and love, and not like a total retelling, but just have those themes in there. So my big joke with the first one with the Dukes, the first book with the Duke was I was like, what if Gaston ended up with Belle and like, and then grows a heart. That's the first book. The Duke's
that's so cool.
Duke's Defiant Angel. Yeah, it was kind of like, what if Gaston, and then like, because like he's so arrogant and he's really like this like macho. But then what if he actually falls in love with her after they get married, and then like they are happily ever after. So
yeah, I love that book, but I didn't get that until you said it. Now it makes perfect sense.
It's the dirty cool. Gaston and Belle story that no one ever for. That's what I
no one knew they wanted it, but everybody wants it.
And now it's out.
Now you know to not want that, right? Like, and then this one, it was very much like a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing as well, where he's like, I'm like, this one was like Beauty and the Beast, but what if Belle was like saucy as all heck and kind of like a little minx, you know, so kind of like taking the Belle character and playing with her. So he's got the Beast vibe, and she's a little bit like, she looks all prim and proper and like Belle, like she seems like Belle, but then she's really very, very naughty. So and then the third book is she's literally, the heroine is literally trapped in a tower in the beginning, like she's been trapped away. So it's like my Rapunzel.
It's Rapunzel.
Tangled, or yeah.
So like her, so for me, like, yeah, I mean, some series it's a character, some whatever, but this one was just like dark fairy tales and like twisted kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny what you said about Disney, because like that's one of the things that we get back to when we're tearing apart craft for storytelling, because Disney and Pixar do such a good job of that, and the hero's arc is always so clear and so easy to follow.
Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
I think those fairy tales have given so much material. Like I cannot get enough of the retellings or the the redo, like Gaston Falls in Love.
Yeah.
I love all of that because
I'm a sucker for
endless
them.
inspiration,
All I have to see in a tagline is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I'm like, I'm
take
there.
Oh,
it doesn't matter what
absolutely,
genre.
yeah.
I'm like, just I'll buy it. I'll take
Yeah,
it. Give it to me.
yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Maeve, do you get your characters first, or do you get your stories?
Usually I get the characters, and this is going to sound very shallow, but like if I'm surfing the web and I happen to see a very nice looking alpha male, I'm going, wow,
You're a visual storyteller, aren't you?
Yeah, or my husband loves the movie 300. I mean, come on, Spartans. Now, I've never written about Spartans. However, you can see him and get killed.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and so then but it's always, I always get the guys first, and it's kind of like, oh man, and then I got to think, well, who am I gonna put him with? And it's like, well, I guess I'll let her have him, or I can dream. Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, usually I'll see them, and then I'll start just kind of going through and thinking, well, how do I want to put them here? How do I want them to meet, the families and everything? And I have started recently writing the blurb first, and it helps me get used to them or get to know them, because if I start diving into chapter 1 before I've written the blurb, I don't know them as well. Because it takes me some getting into the story. Because I get to know them just like the reader does, one word at a time. But I have found that the blurb, writing the blurb first, helps me.
That makes so much sense. And it also
it was purely accidental, but I discovered it.
But it also makes sure that the character and conflict are so tight too, because you know where the problems are when you're trying to. That's what happens with ad copy too. Sometimes when I get blurbs across my desk, it's I don't have to work to write the ad copy because the conflict and character is so clear in those first couple lines. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah,
awesome.
Because blurbs are my nemesis. I
hate writing.
I don't think I've ever met a writer who didn't go, I hate doing
And I have taken classes and classes and classes. I think the one that helped me most was Mal Cooper. Look her up. She helped me because with Inkers Con.
Okay.
So she had a blurb writing, and it finally clicked, and I thought, I can do this now. So
and now you can use it as a method for your writing, which is fantastic. So I need to do that.
It's just a matter of finding time. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we start to measure success in word counts too, or we're kind of conditioned to go, if I get this many pages or this many words, then I've done what I needed to do for the day, and anything other than that doesn't really count in the work of the writing, but it is all the work of the storytelling. It's all that. And that sitting around staring off into space while you're trying to wait for like for them to talk, just tell me something, people, just anything.
Exactly.
Something to work with.
That blank screen and flashing is like, It's
Yeah,
just
it
torture.
stresses me out sometimes so much
Mhm.
because, and then I read once years ago, somebody said, just write, and then if you have to go back and delete it, it's fine, but just to get into the motion. But I tried that, and I mean, I talk about 100 miles an hour anyway, so I kind of write that way. So the whole thing's gibberish, so I have to just keep deleting everything. That does not work for me.
And then you feel
So-
like you wasted all that time doing
Yeah,
it.
that's the
So,
thing.
yeah.
I'm like, I can't use this.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that whole you can't fix a blank page. Well, that's fine, but it's hard to fix the mess sometimes too.
Exactly. Sometimes it's better to
Sometimes
just,
blank.
okay,
to make
trash
it
can,
blank.
and just- yeah.
But when it flows, though, there's no better feeling
Oh,
than
I
that. When
know.
it just
It's-
clicks. Oh, I
When
love
it
when that
writes
happens.
itself, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you find that when you get to a point, because I think for a lot of people who don't plot really heavily, that the writing the story is kind of a discovery. It's like you're writing along and you're figuring out the characters and you're getting the story as you get it, and then you get to the 80% point and you know everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to push through that last 20% to get to the end, or are you so caught up in the story and so caught up in the love story at that point that you enjoy spending time with the characters?
I start getting sleepy and nodding off, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if it's boring me, what's it going to do to them? Well, like a
That's when I
kindergartner,
start-
I'll lay my little head down on my desk, take about a 10-minute snooze, and then I'll pop back up and go, now do this. And I think it's because I know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the discovery part is gone. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
Yeah.
That's about the point though, when I guess I'm not much of a plotter. So when I get to that point, the fun is gone, but also I start dreading the reread and edit because I know by that point I figured it. I'm like, oh, it's 80% done. And now I just figured out what needed to happen like, in scene one. Like,
I got
and
to
so
go
it's
back and fix
like,
it.
yeah, now I have to just go back and make it all match up to this.
you
Because-
start
Yeah.
rereading and it's like, oh, these are not the same people I ended up with. These people that I
Yeah.
started with. These are not the people that are at the
Yeah.
end of the book, and it's not just normal
Exactly.
character arc stuff. It's
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like,
Or
oh
then
yeah, I feel like
sometimes-
finally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll start with a character and you'll know you want them to end up as a different person in a different,
Mhm.
but then the last 20% is like, have I done enough? Is it gradual enough to get them there? Like, you don't want to do a complete switch up, and
Yes.
it's akin to saying, oh, they woke up and it was all a dream. Like, you have to make sure that
It has
been
to
a
feel
process.
natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That can be tricky in the last. But
Oh,
then
yes.
sometimes I feel the opposite way. Like, I'm kind of happy to wrap it all up because you've gotten over the hump of the,
Mhm.
whatever obstacle stands in their way, and you're just bringing it home. And it's sometimes I find it even easier to just wrap it all up in a nice little bow, and then it's done. And then the dreaded editing, but we'll block that part out for now. Positives only.
Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
There you go.
so because they talk about, we always talk about wishing everybody happy book birthday, but I mean there is an element to the giving birth to the story, and I think you just kind of forget the parts that are unpleasant, because otherwise you wouldn't do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very true.
So Nadine, there are 2 more books in your series.
Yeah. So the next one is a Forgotten
I'm assuming we have
Fall.
4 seasons that we have to have.
Yeah, and then we have a winter wedding because I love a wedding. So the next book is Francesca's, and that's going to be based around a soldier who's come back from the war. And I know obviously it wasn't PTSD back then, but I think we know now what they would have gone through. So that makes it sound really dark. It is still quite light. There's a lot of comedic elements in it still as well. It's more about him sort of coming back to life, really, and what the theme is, he'd had an accident, but his brother had also gone to war, and his brother was supposed to have been the Lord. He was supposed to inherit the title, but he died, and so it sort of lands on his shoulders without him wanting it. And so that's kind of his backstory. So he definitely has demons to work through. And I don't know if she is, she's not exactly gentle as a person. She's So it's not a Florence Nightingale situation. It's more of constantly knocking heads, but at least he's feeling emotions and not completely deadened or, you know, haunted by his past and stuff. So there are definite sparks. Probably not as many sparks as Bella's, but there are sparks.
Flame. It's the Dragonblade Flame line.
It's the flames.
Mine are more embers than
On
flames.
all of the descriptions, and you know.
But yeah, and then the last one will be a winter wedding, and she's finally fully grown. And it's cool actually because the readers get to meet her from the first book, so they get to see her turn from, you know, a girl, like a teenage girl, to a woman. And that's going to be a sort of a marriage convenience trope. She wants to save her horses. She needs something happens and she needs the money to save her horses. And she meets this man, Lord, from Scotland, actually, Maeve. So unfortunately, he's not a Highlander. I do love them, but I can't write them. And she goes up to Scotland with him, and he has 2 actual child wards. They are children. They're not grown-ups. And he's looking for a sort of a mother figure because he's not exactly the doting daddy type. And she agrees because, as I said, she loves her horses more than people, but they both sort of grow to love horses and people. So it's kind of...
Oh, that one sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, no, they're fun. They have fun.
Sounds like fun. And Bella, you've got Rapunzel coming up?
Rapunzel, yeah, it's not called that, but it's I didn't actually call it that, but it's that one's coming out last, and yeah, I think it'll be really, really fun. It's the most classic fairy tale of the 3 of them because it's he's
an actual tower.
Yeah, it's an actual tower and like a really evil stepmother. Like I just went all in with the fairy tale on that one. But it's super dark and also super dirty. My son is like right here. So tell anyone. It's like a secret. So I can't tell too much more than that right now.
Well, we are going to look forward expectantly towards that one when it comes.
Yes,
yeah.
Details are TBD on that.
And Maeve, how many more are in a Scott to have on to hold?
I've got one more brother.
Valen's
got to have his story, and he goes off to help defend the castle, and he thinks he's rescuing a pair of ladies in distress, you know, damsels in distress, until one of them shoots him with an arrow, and then he realizes maybe they're not as helpless as he thought they were. And then
awesome.
we go on from there. So
I love that.
A good hero wound.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot to love about that.
that's right.
More dynamic right from the beginning.
Exactly. Just get the terms straight, you know.
Absolutely. Oh, I love
Everybody
that.
knows where they stand. They're all in line.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, they all sound so much fun, and it has been a delight to talk to you today. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. This was a blast. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Thank you.
It was fun to be here.
Yeah. I'm going to put the links to all the books in the comments. So if you haven't picked up your books yet, you have a chance to get them. Dragonblade books are absolutely the best deal on pre-order and right when they're released, because they're 99 cents and you can't beat that. So I'll put the links there and make it easier for you to get. And we will be back here next week at the same time, same place. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.